No, wait, oops. Sorry. Dan in Atlanta has been on for a while. How are you?
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I think there's a delay. Am I on?
Yeah.
You're on.
Okay, yeah, so I'm theist, and when someone else makes a claim about what a God is or does or wants or will do for whom under what circumstances, I'm always interested to know how they determine that. So I ask them, how do you know that?
Good question.
And the usual reaction I get to this, even from my, the usual reaction I get is, they basically assume immediately that I'm not only saying that they're wrong, but that gods don't exist at all.
Okay.
And so they immediately frame me as, an atheist, and it's gotten to the point where even my family seems to suspect that I'm an atheist.
Okay.
It's...
Well, now, personally, I would say if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah.
Maybe you should consider it.
Are you an atheist?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I wouldn't make a factual assertion about what a god is or isn't, because I have absolutely no basis on which to do such a thing, which is...
Okay.
Yeah.
May I ask, what flavor of theist are you? Where do you get your inspiration about that sort of thing?
Mainly from old Germanic poetry.
Okay. Do they know? I mean, where do they get that information?
I don't.
Well,
I don't quite get that.
It's not a claim about. Right. It's not a claim about nature. It's social ideas.
Mm.
So I guess
for
I don't
example,
understand the answer to the question, because I think you were asking what kind of theist is.
Yeah, like what do you? I mean, would you identify as a Christian or what?
Oh no.
Okay.
No, I worship the old Germanic pantheon.
Okay. That's weird.
All right.
But fine.
Yeah, I guess a little.
Why?
Why? Well, I guess that's a complicated question to answer that would probably take a really long time.
I mean, forgive me for saying so, but you're like, you've got a very non-mainstream kind of religion, and I'm not at all surprised that people would identify you as an atheist, since you don't believe in anything they recognize as God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, if you don't believe in their God, it's like you don't believe in any gods.
Yeah,
right.
I have a hard time believing that you are surprised in any way by that. Do you think that these old Germanic gods are real and have minds and exist and influence things? I'm not quite familiar with your type of religion.
That's totally okay. Most people aren't.
Okay.
Well, in our communities, we have sort of a split. We have hard polytheists who believe exactly as you just suggested, and then we have soft polytheists who generally accept that these gods are archetypes of of social values or personifications of nature.
Okay.
And I fall into the latter group.
So you don't actually believe the gods exist?
Yeah, I'd almost say go ahead and believe that, but you're not believing in a god.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like much of a god to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's almost like satanic temple kind of thing.
It might be. I'm not too familiar with them. Well, I would point out that in almost any circumstance other than a discussion about epistemology, you would not be able to tell the difference between a soft and a hard polytheist.
What about the difference between a soft polytheist and an atheist?
Yeah.
Well, an atheist doesn't take part in any religious activities.
Well, that's not true.
An atheist doesn't.
That is not true.
Okay, you're right. You're right. That's not true. But But I would suggest that when an atheist does take part in religious activities, they're usually doing it for friends or family members who are believers in those religious activities.
Nope.
No?
There are
You don't think
Buddhists.
so?
There are Buddhists who are atheists.
Yes, I forgot the atheistic religions.
There are
right.
Unitarians.
Who are atheists.
That's real popular among people who don't really feel good about the atheist word.
Yeah, they call it,
Right.
Church for Atheist Parents.
Yes, you're right. Let me rephrase that then. I would propose that atheists do not generally take part in the worship of deities.
That's true.
And you do?
Yes, I just happen to acknowledge that those deities don't have any intrinsic basis in nature.
Okay,
They're
so you
human
do it for fun. You just don't take it that seriously.
Well, it's not fun, really. It's a way of extolling virtues and ideas about society in a way that has a really powerful emotional impact.
Okay.
All right. Well, whatever works for you, man.
Yeah, but what I was really what I was really confused by was not the perception of me, but the inability to separate questioning how somebody claims to know something from the assertion that the thing not only isn't known but isn't right at all. Does that make sense?
I don't really quite understand what you're saying, but
okay. If someone is claiming something as a fact about anything, whether it's religious or not, and my question is, how do you know that? Mm-hmm. Someone shouldn't think that has any reflection on whether I accept the idea or not, or what I think about it if I don't, right? It's just a question about what the factual basis is for the claim that's being made.
Okay.
I guess what I would say to you is that the quality of being skeptical and generally trying to get at the root of knowledge is something that not a lot of self-identified Christians, and I'm sure that's most of who you know living over there in Georgia, have or consider to be a good thing. And so, I think that skepticism is identified with not just atheism, but with wickedness in general.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, are these people, when you ask this question, are they aware of your religious beliefs?
Usually no.
Okay.
Right.
But if asked, I'm usually, at least in those circumstances, I'm willing to say, hey, I'm not an atheist. But it seems weird that people would get that impression at all.
People aren't psychic. They can't. I mean, who would predict that you have this obscure Germanic thing?
No, they wouldn't necessarily.
I heard you,
I could just as easily be a Christian. But
yeah,
I don't see how it gives the impression that I think that they're wrong just because I want to know how it is that they could claim to know about something which nobody could possibly know about, even if it is really real.
Yeah, religious people are defensive, and the dirty little secret is that they have outward confident belief in something that they don't really understand, and when they get questioned on it, it kind of sets off processes in their own mind sometimes that, hey, I don't really have a good reason for it, and that makes me not so sure that the stuff I believe is true. And so they project that onto you, like, this guy is saying what I don't believe is not true. Persecute the infidel.
Well, one question I always like to bring up, especially when I'm talking with the really hard polytheists, is what would have happened if an ancient Greek had actually climbed up Mount Olympus?
Nothing. They would have gotten to a mountaintop.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they all must have known that, right? Like, if they really believed that there really were gods really at the top of that mountain, surely they would have gone up there instead of building these giant temples out of marble.
Yeah, and I guess understanding that that's the case, it must also feel very safe to have this vague, ill-defined type of religion that doesn't have a Mount Olympus to climb. Maybe someday you ought to consider actually thinking about what atheism does have to offer. But anyway, I think we're going to go on to the next caller. It's been good talking to you, Dan.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
I'm sure that somebody climbed Mount Olympus.
Probably.
I mean,
was Mount Olympus is real, right?
Yeah, it's like the highest.
I'm so bad at geography.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the highest mountain in I believe Greece, and I'm certain that someone climbed it and probably came back down and said, "Hey, man, there's nothing up there," and some other people said, "Oh no, the gods hid where they live in Mount Olympus because it's a special place, and you need to worship at the Temple of Athena or whatever, and you can go back and they'll let you in or something."